Mr. O'Rourke, you're now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Halliday, do we have any idea of how these failures compare to those that we might find in other federal departments or agencies? In the backup that I read for this hearing, there were instances within the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense where you had abuse or lack of safeguards in purchase cards. Can you shed some light on that?
I think that there's several federal agencies struggling with these same issues. To the extent that they hold their purchase card holders accountable and their approving officials, you're going to have differences. I saw that GSA ranked their program medium risk, the same as I've ranked this. And I want to clarify something on that for you. I clarified it medium risk because at 2% of the total value of the purchases, I'd have to find some $72 million worth of fraud, and I hadn't found that. My unauthorized commitment report was over 2 years, 85, so half of that. I do think that our problems are pervasive enough that this needs attention. The way to get to that attention is to make sure we hold the approving officials responsible. They're down at the lowest level, looking at these cards, looking at the justification, the need, the appropriateness of the buying, and I don't see that as happening.
You know, so perhaps relative to other federal departments, this is a similar problem. And, you know, despite, I think, some very valid concerns raised by Mr. Frey, we don't have any proof yet of specific instances where someone has died or been injured because of this practice. You gave us an anecdote that helped show us that, at least so far, this money wasn't used for poker chips and booze. You know, maybe there are instances forthcoming that we should know about, but it's deeply troubling nonetheless. But what makes it absolutely unacceptable is that this just follows in a litany of unaccountability at the VA, and it's the $1.1 billion overrun in Aurora. It's the choice program yesterday that we heard about, which was budgeted to be spent, the entire $10 billion within the next 6 months, and we've only spent $500 million. So it really raises profound concerns about control and accountability at the VA, and whether we use your number of $85 million in the last 2 years that were unauthorized, or we use the Washington Post $6 billion number, the fact that only 2 people have been disciplined in any significant way, they both lost their jobs to this, makes me uncomfortable with where the VA is going. And I appreciate Mr. Murray's answers to our questions, but really, you know, we need the Secretary to respond to this. And I 100% agree with him that we need to be focused on the future and getting this right for the veteran going forward. But unless we're sure that these concerns have been addressed, and I'm not following all of these instances and the hearing today, it's hard to have that faith. And when the VA asks us to expedite the purchasing program going forward, you know, it makes it hard for us to do that. When the VA says, let's shift $1 billion over from this account to the other, this lack of control and accountability gives me some pause in authorizing that. So I really appreciate, Mr. Frey, your work on this, Ms. Halliday, what you've shed light on, and also hopefully your commitment to further investigate some of the issues that have been brought up by different members of the committee. I think we're all interested in those answers. And I think this committee certainly wants to be a constructive partner with the VA. I want to find a way that we get these things addressed, because in El Paso and almost every other congressional district, we're still seeing wait times 1 year later after Phoenix that have not improved at all. Despite the billions of additional dollars that have been authorized and the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been obligated. So we really need some significant, bold, dramatic change. It has to be in accountability control. Ms. Halliday, you mentioned this erosion in the public's confidence in the VA. I mean, this is one more cut against that. And I'm really worried about this. And so look forward to hearing from the Secretary on how we can be his partner in getting this fixed. But we need to see a demonstration on the part of the VA that they take this seriously. So appreciate everyone's work on this, and I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. And after this